afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew White, and this is Legally Speaking. We have a really important and really very well curated program here for you today. And as you can see, really very important guest speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Paula Llewellyn. Let's make it a little more lively though. We have an icebreaker plan for you. I'm going to hide my question sheet so the goodly Miss Llewellyn doesn't cheat and find out what the answers are. We have a guess the case game.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So
remember, I have been retired from last year, September. So I'm not really the belly of the beast again, but let's see.
So the rules are, a hint of the case will be given and you will need to guess the name. That's it. Very simple. We'll start with an easy one. This case involved a small snail in a bottle of ginger beer and established the modern law of... Or any of you can answer, by the way.
Yes,
just raise your hand. That's correct, Donahue and Stevenson. This case involved a sword during a siege time. Yes? Correct again. Let's try and trip you up. This case involves the 1993 executing of prisoners after excessive delays.
In Jamaica?
In Jamaica.
It was the Michael deal. Was it?
No, it's not. It's the first trick.
Okay.
Who wants to do the former DPP? That's it.
Oh, practice. Yes. And in fact, I had the pleasure of meeting, was it Mr. Pratt, after he came out of prison.
It's been a long time. Was in there for a while?
Yes. I was at a forum at the Institute, and he was being, I wouldn't say celebrated,
Well, sir.
but he made himself known, and they were talking about him, and then he came up to me, and we had a nice little chat, so.
Well, that's the end of our little. I think she deserves something. I think she deserves a free bag of popcorn. What we're going to do now is open up the floor to questions. Yes, we're going to do rapid fire in interest of time. So I'm going to take 3 of you. I'm going to allow you to just answer them all.
Thank you, sir.
So I see one hand right here. Let me see the other 2 hands. First come, first serve, or else I'll pick. That's 2. Number 3, the gentleman in green. Great. That's
So it's
3
all
people.
men? Come on now. One man, one lady. Alright, okay.
No, we may take initiative.
Okay.
So let me hear question 1.
I just wanted to know your opinion on the potential of opening the sex offenders registry to the public, and if not, what is the justification for that?
I guess maybe the authorities may think that he might be beheaded or assassinated in this small society of ours, where there's a subtext culture which believes in an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. And saying to you plainly that may be a thought. Because we are a small society. It's not a situation like what you have in the States where somebody can move from one state to another. And remember, although he or she is a sex offender, they still will enjoy rights under the Constitution. Freedom of movement, freedom of association, freedom of expression. All the constitutional rights that you would enjoy. So maybe the policymakers, by not opening it up to the public, may be saying they would not wish for someone to decide to become a kid crusader and to crucify the person, thus committing another offense. Because you know you have crazy people like that. You know that. Right? So perhaps they can't please everybody, but on balance, they probably believe that for the time being, it is better this way. Because can you imagine what would happen? nobody would be able to go and visit that person. That person wouldn't even be able to go outside. Maybe that person would be burnt out. That would burn him out. Right? So there's really nowhere that the person would go. I think that's what they are. You see, you have to be careful. I used to like to say when people talk about why can't this happen, or the CSI effect, or why can't we do this, and I say, listen, the justice system is not like law and order, where the incident occurs, they arrest and charge the offender, there's a trial and a conviction in half an hour. Right? So you can't take everything that you see in some of these countries and take it as gospel. It's a real thing that you have to think about, the fact that we're small societies where everybody knows, everybody knows everybody, or knows somebody who knows somebody. Especially, can you imagine the era of social media? I am not on social media, and my daughter loves to tell me, Mommy, if you know the amount of pictures that are out there about you, you know, so you figure somebody it being exposed that they are a sex offender on the register. What do you think that would happen? Would they have any constitutional rights that they could enjoy? And they may have paid their debt to society. Remember, coming from the case of the Queen against Sargent and other cases, what are the four tenets of sentencing? You have punishment, retribution, rehabilitation, and deterrence. Right? So he has been punished. You want some rehabilitation. So if he is going to be, the person is going to be put in a corner in a box that they cannot enjoy any rights at all. Even if they have to, the police will be aware and the persons who keep custody of it. And I think the police. Well, what would happen? You would send him over the edge and he just goes on a rampage. You know, so that's it.
There's been kind of a pushback of the number of law students that, you know, the legal system is expanding too much and there are too many students studying law. So my question is, what do you think about that? Is that a good thing?
When you say there has been a pushback, how has it manifested itself? According to your perception. I'm not talking about reality, you know. The perception. Why do you say there has been a pushback? Because certainly over the last, I would say 25 years, 30 years, every year you hear the same thing, that there are too many law school students. Right? I've been hearing that. Although in my year, when I was at law school, you had 20-something students. Then we went to Barbados, we were there, we came back, and at law school we had maybe nearly 40. And that's because we had people from Belize and other persons. But I was from the small group era. Why do you say that there's a pushback?
Yeah, well, there's the older generation, some of them.
You mean the older generation like me? Say, older generation like me. The whole world now knows my age. So I'm definitely one of the older generation.
They say that, you know, law students, they don't read full cases, and they just come out to law school and they don't really know the law.
We know the specific criticism you're
So tell me, what is it?
Oh, no, I think he's referencing a specific popular lawyer that, you know, we may have already commented that, you know, law students only read briefs and summaries and digests.
You mean spark notes?
Yeah.
Spark notes?
But no, I didn't really think about it, but let's finish.
Yes.
It was because you spoke about how you expanded the prosecutor system where 23 at the beginning and now it's over 70.
It's about 70 on the establishment, but I think we are at about 58.
So my question is, do you think that it would be better to continue to have the expansion of people working as lawyers, or do you agree with your generation?
Listen, it's a vexed issue. I must confess to you. let me be very diplomatic. One is glad that there is a mobility that can see most people, once they're able to find the funds, pursuing their dream of becoming an attorney. What I think some people of my generation and over are concerned about is the dilution of standard. So in other words, you don't want a situation where you just want to show I have a law degree, but what is behind it? What does it promise? Is there going to be the same intellectual rigor, the critical analysis, the self-discipline, the willingness to serve, the work ethic, excellent work ethic, so that you are an exemplar of what it means to be a lawyer? Or is it that it just becomes a dime a dozen and it becomes diminished, where it no longer commands the respect that it ought to? I think that is what some people are concerned about. Because what has happened over time is that because you have so many law students coming out at the same time, the system of mentorship, which is critical to making a good lawyer, I would say it has almost broken down, because you just don't have enough spaces to have that program. At my office, my former office, the ODPP, mentoring is critical. You come there, you are not sent out on your own for several months. You go with a senior. You are assigned to a deputy and somebody who is a seasoned crown counsel. But you can't just come out and set up your shingle and say, I'm an attorney. Right? And I will say to all of you, make sure that when you do matriculate out of the law school, or even out of the law faculty, if you're going to do your internship, or you're going to settle in a particular firm or whatever, you make sure that you choose wisely to be around people who have good professional habits and they're not into the chaka-chaka. Right? So that has always been a concern, and I saw where Dr. Malcolm at the law school has moved to say that they are putting an extra layer of mentoring into their program at the law school. I'm not surprised, because they say what will happen. Remember I told you now, the thing with your generation here, a lot of you are brilliant academically, you're brilliant with the technology, but you find that when it comes to emotional intelligence and sometimes attitude, it's not of the best. Because in other words, this is not giving me any money anytime soon, I can't be bothered and move on. Or I'm entitled to get this and get that and whatnot. I have no patience. And most importantly, the attitude. If you don't have a positive, courteous attitude, you will find that you could be as brilliant as the sun. In a profession like law, you will find a lot of people may not still want to battle with you because you don't have the right attitude. And that is why in a profession like law, you don't have to be a brilliant academic to succeed. It is your attitude. Remember what this guy Zig Ziglar said. It is your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude. And I have found that. When I was in the law faculty and law school, I was a brilliant academic. I knew I was a frustrated actress. I knew I could do my work, but I was not brilliant. And I look at me 40 years later, and I have seen people who are brilliant, and you look at them 40 years or 30 or 20 years later, and nobody knows them. You understand? In terms of being an exemplar of the best tenets of the profession. So I would say to you, always look on your attitude. And when you go to intern, that is what your seniors are always going to observe to decide whether to take you or not. Your attitude. So if your attitude to work is poor, but you think you are better than sliced bread, because a lot of young people today don't have the emotional intelligence. It's not as if the person tell you, no, I don't think I can keep any longer or next year. That is when a lot of persons first realize that they are not up to mark. Yeah, I've seen it. Yet you have others. I think there was a young man, I can't remember his name, and he came, because we don't take many people from the law faculty, and he came to us, was it last year or the year before, and his attitude, excellent, and he immediately said he's booking his place to come back this year. But I don't think the present director will have a problem taking it, because his attitude, although he was from the law faculty, he was so professional, he was so enthusiastic, he was so obviously wanting to learn and soak up everything and to try to fit it to work. You know, so your attitude is critical. Whereas I've also seen persons and you're just glad to see the back of them, but you're not going to say it. You smile and you're gracious. I've seen my colleagues smile and be gracious, but I will say you don't have to worry. That person is not going to ask to return to do another internship pro bono, because they are not on the path that we are on. Right? That person is just doing law to say she has done law. You have some people like that. And guess what? People can pick it up. You're just doing law to say the law, but there's no passion, there's no love, there's no zest, there's no joy, there's no interest. You're just doing it because you're academically matriculated. You can pick it up. Right? So if you may be academically brilliant, and that is your attitude, and you have somebody who is not as academically, say, tortoise and the ear, but their attitude is much better than yours, so you are more brilliant, that person, you bet, will do better than you in terms of where they land, because of their attitude. You understand? Willingness to learn, willing to be courageous, willingness to work, willingness to dig deep beyond the superficial to try to be the best that they can be. You can always work with somebody like that, but somebody who is academically brilliant, who is superficial, entitled, poor attitude, really isn't going anywhere, but they are the last to know, and there's no emotional intelligence, and they are arrived because they are bright. Right? But invariably you find the other person does better in terms of how they are perceived. Attitude. Okay? So I don't think you're going to always have it being said. There are too many lawyers. But somehow, I would say 95% manage to get a job, or you have some persons who go into other arenas. Because the study of law equips you to be multidimensional, multifaceted, and for those who are prepared to allow themselves to be critical thinkers, once you can critically think, you can go almost anywhere and give value and have value come back to you.
Good evening. Was there a particular turning point in your career that gave you the confidence that becoming DPP was the right choice?
Well, I'm going to tell you. When I was a deputy, I was always doing a lot of big cases. Sometimes cases that nobody else wanted to to do. If I'm honest with myself, I just loved being an advocate. I loved being an advocate, and I had a lot of, let me put it this way, I had a lot of attempts to demotivate me because of my personality. I'm told that I'm flamboyant and I was popular with the jury, popular with the police. So along the way, I did have attempts made to demotivate me. Let me put it like that. It was when my predecessor did not get an extension that I'm just quite clear that the new government of the day wanted to make a change, that several persons encouraged me, including my mentor, to apply. Because I'm the first person to have gone through a competitive process to become DPP. Prior to that, it was really at the Prime Minister's pleasure. Yes, in consultation, the leader of the opposition, but that is a fiction. It really was at the Prime Minister's pleasure. So I had, during one of the periods when I was attempting to demotivate me, I had done a senior public sector executive management course as well, which is a course that trains you to be a permanent secretary. So in addition to the fact that I had a very, very high and heavy work rate, doing a lot of big cases that people knew about and the public knew about. So I was a stranger. I think the combination of both and the fact that I obviously loved what I did, irrespective of the obstacles and challenges that were put in my way, and that I had testicular fortitude with a smile. And I got the most points, and I was selected, and the rest is history. So it was really at the last part there. I remember, and I'll share with you, about 5 years before, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm sharing it with you because it's important that you all, people see me on television or they hear people talking about you or in newspapers. But very often when you attain so-called high rank, people don't really fully understand whether you're a leader of the opposition, Prime Minister, Attorney General, President of the Court of Appeal, Chief Justice, or DPP, that you're a human being after all. Although you're working long hours and you're trying to do your best. And about 5 to 8 years before I became DPP, my mother had stomach cancer. And she was so courageous and strong, she would drive herself to go and get the chemotherapy. And her work ethic was legendary. And go back to work. And when she had that first bout, I remember I prayed. And I prayed that if the Lord spared her, the word ambition would become a stranger to me. I would have no ambition to do anything other than just to do whatever task is assigned to me. So I abandoned all of that. I just worked doing what I loved. And my mother, she did the chemotherapy and she went into remission. And she was there with me when I went through some challenges and really mentoring me not to give up. But she used to say, nobody can crack your head and take out what is in it. You are the one that put your pot on fire. And when people try to demotivate you, put out something pretty and go out there. And above all, pray for yourself, for God to give you the grace. But alas, in 2005, it returned. But I had a good little run with her. And it returned in 2005 when my daughter was 6 years old. And I remember one of the things she said to me in the last couple of months, she sat up in her wheelchair. When I said to her, I was acting as DPP because my predecessor was not well. And why I remember it, I was supposed to be on leave. I rarely took leave. I was supposed to be on long leave to go through the second round journey with her to do the chemotherapy. So I said, Mommy, I will drive to do one of the chemotherapy. I will be with you. But my predecessor got sick. And I was the most senior person. 6 people had just resigned. And the office was teetering in terms of people being burnt out and whatever. And my predecessor left to go on long leave. Although I had been granted leave. And you know what my mother said? This is the kind of woman I come from. She said to me, boy, is there anybody else there that has the stamina and the experience to steady the ship? I said, no, Mom, I'm the most experienced person. She says, well, I will be all right. Your office needs you. Get on with it. Right? This is one of the first times I can talk about it without shedding tears. But that is a stock my parents were made of. And I got on with it. And every evening I would go to their house to see her. I lost weight, the stress of everything. And one day she said to me, the last month, she sat up in the wheelchair. And when I said to her, sometimes I feel so tired. I remember I had a 6-year-old. She was sick. And I had the office teetering and having to steady it. And I said, I feel so tired. And she said to me, always remember this. You had better be strong all the time. And I've never forgotten it. And I honor my parents when no matter what challenges come my way, I continue to perform my best. And I show testicular fortitude because it is the right thing to do as a professional who loves her work and loves her country and loves giving service above self.
And now, all reverends have ended.
Matthew White, this has been Legally Speaking.